Hi everybody, Rusty Albertson, Director of Communications at St. Mark the Evangelist Catholic Church. On this episode of The Candles, we are joined by a great friend and active parishioner, Mickey Lentz. Mickey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's so glad to have you here with your busy schedule, even in retirement. We thought it would be nice for you to come in and join us today to give maybe some of the parishioners that don't know you a chance to get to know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself here at St. Mark and at the Archdiocese.
Okay, well, as Rusty said, I'm Mickey Lentz, formerly Annette Mickey Lentz. I have been serving in the Archdiocese for the past 60 years. I'm in my end of my first year of retirement and maybe not failing it now, but working up toward a C. And I'll explain that a little bit later when I talk about my role here at the parish. But I started as a teacher down in Fountain Square at St. Patrick. I taught there for 14 years. I came here in 1974, became a principal for another 14 or 15 years, and then went down to the central office and began to work in curriculum, and then became superintendent, director of all education, and then my last 13 years was chancellor for the Archdiocese. Wow. For the Archbishop.
That's a busy life.
So it's been, that's why I think retirement's been so hard, because it's 24/7 nonstop, and retirement's a little bit different from that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned in there, you started as a teacher at St. Patrick's. What subject, what grade levels did you teach?
At St. Patrick's, I taught social studies and PE and a little bit of history. Science.
Sure. And who was the principal there at that time, do you remember?
Sister Thomas.
Awesome. When sisters were principals.
Sisters was principals,
yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was the first lay principal here at St. Mark.
Right, yeah. So you and I obviously have both of that in common, being principal St. Mark. I always tell people you did so much a better job than I did.
Oh, I don't know about that. We're totally two different types of
absolutely.
leaders, and that takes all kinds.
But we're very appreciative. I think the groundwork that you laid, and those before you and those after, was laid for what you see now in the growth and diversity that we have, and so blessed for that. As the superintendent of schools for the Archdiocese, you served that for how many years?
Superintendent for about 8.
So during those 8 years, how did you see Catholic education change from what it was before to what it is then, and even what it is now?
Well, we went through all facets. I mean, actually, in the beginning, it was flourishing. Mm-hmm. Then our enrollments began to drop. Mm-hmm. There were other challenges, as you would well know. And then, all of a sudden, I think with what we were doing in church, and people coming to church and wanting the best for their children, even though it was just safe and secure at that time, they began to come and then see what we were able to offer. St. Mark was the first blue ribbon school of excellence, and we began that excellence then as my role as superintendent for many other schools. We hold the rank of highest across the nation in that category. So I think people began to realize that and thought that, this is worth something. And then, of course, later the vouchers came, Choice Charitable Trust, and what do they say? The rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember when I took the role here as principal, my task was to increase enrollment. Mm-hmm. And we did. When I left, I think it was maybe 350 from 230. Rusty sustained that and grew it, which was great. And then now, because we have new communities here within our church community and our parish, which is wonderful, I know we're at 500 plus. It
continues to grow, and it echoes in our church.
Yeah,
I mean, you see the diversity and the growth and size of our church. It's such a blessing to be able to, because a lot of parishes, and you would know this probably more than me, don't always see that. Their church and school don't always go together sometimes.
Correct. They, unfortunately, they see it as parish school slash. And, my role always was to help people understand, our pastors and our community to understand that the school is a mission of the church.
Right.
And together, when we function that way, there's no stopping us.
Right. So you progressed from there, you transitioned into the Chancellor of the Archdiocese.
I did.
Tell everybody what that job, because that's really a job behind the scenes that people don't know. What did you do there?
Well, it's a title that's kind of hard to understand. I remember, God bless Archbishop Daniel, when he asked me to take on that role. It was simply the secretary, quote unquote, of the diocese. So I would keep the records, the history, the archives, sign off on it in very important transitions
Sure.
and properties and so forth. But my gosh, it became, the laundry list that never stops. So it became a lot. It was great. It's like the COO of a company.
Sure.
So the day-to-day activities were mine, always representing the Archbishop. I had the pleasure of serving under 4 archbishops, all again, different leadership styles, different challenges that we were facing within the Archdiocese, but it was a great experience for me. And I would say it's from my education as a Catholic school student,
Right.
as a parishioner, as being active in my role as parishioner, that allowed me to, I think, do the best job I could do.
Right, and I think that you look at what you just said, being an active parishioner. Some people come to church like any community, and they choose to sit back and that's fine. We have others, and I've had Pete and Mary Massagale on last show, and different Steve Helmick that just really jump in with both people, much like you do, and I think it helps them. It does, obviously, for me and my family to grow in our faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I found, as I said earlier about retirement, it's been very difficult for me to adjust, very difficult. And by getting more involved here, I felt like I was always involved here, but more globally. I mean, at Mass on Sunday or whatever the case. But now that I have the time to do some more day-to-day opportunities, not only Eucharistic minister, but also some things through the week. The Capital Campaign was a wonderful experience, challenge, still is for me. Taking on the auction, the silent auction for the dinner dance, all of that has kept me not just busy, but busy for church.
Sure.
But getting to know the people now like yourselves in the pews.
Right.
I've been here a long time, but my folks have kind of passed on somewhere. They may not be any longer in this parish. And so I need a new community, if you will, and I have found that very much here at St. Mark's.
Yeah, and we're such a blessing to have you. I know personally, as a principal, first time I was ever stepped foot in an elementary as an educator was here, and you were such a big help to me. I know that whenever I needed it, you were there for me, and I appreciate that. And I know you're doing the same with Jen in the mentorship. You served on school commission and different things, and I tell you, it was really, probably didn't thank you enough, but it was just such a big help to have you there. Some people would say, oh, you have the chancellor in your school, is that intimidating? I said, no, it's a big help, for me.
So.
Oh, it was, absolutely.
That was the intent.
Yeah.
I hope I never had that intimidation
No.
power, if you will. But you know what they say, I still know where the bodies lie. I still have some wisdom left in me, thank God. And if I can share that and help you or Jen or Chris or whomever, Father Tim, I'm happy to do that. I still consult a little bit at the diocese, but not to the extent that I probably would like to.
Well, we'll shift gears just a little bit. I thought about this question on the way in the drive this morning. You've lived the Catholic faith your whole life, through not only going to school as a youngster, Catholic school and so forth, but now a new family walks into your office, your room, whatever, and speaks to you, and they're really not decided on. They're open to faith. What would your suggestions? What's your selling points for the Catholic faith? The Catholic faith gets some negativism throughout the world, like all religions do, but what would your selling point be to them, why this is good for them to come and join us?
Well, Rusty, I think all of us live daily, hopefully, by our faith, and the best we model that is best, and I don't think it's better modeled than in a Catholic school or in a Catholic parish. I mean, God is present, Christ is there. There are challenges, but it's there, and I think that's the pole we want, for people to see they can trust, they can be at peace, their children are safe. It's just a good feeling, and what do they say? You know it when you see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know it when you feel it.
Yep.
Well, that's what I say.
Yeah, and I told people when I walked into the school the first time, I knew it when I smelt it. It just smelled like home. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but you're exactly right. Same with this church. The first time my wife and I walked into this church after I took the job, we always sit in the same place over in the corner, I know, and it just felt like home. Just the way that it's a surround, and it's almost like God is putting arms around us. So I hope that any new families that watch this are looking for a way to expand their faith. we really invite you in here. When we sing that song, All Are Welcome,
All are welcome.
it really is meaningful here, and I appreciate what you do to promote that.
I don't think, I hope and pray that it's never an intimidation, that it's never, it's real, it's genuine. And if it takes time for you to respond to that outcome, we'll take that time with you.
Absolutely.
We'll walk with you.
Absolutely. Okay, the next part I want to ask you about, because I think that you have an expertise on this in dealing with people who have given to the Archdiocese in some small ways, bigger ways, whatever ways they can. But in one of my hats that I wear, I now am helping people to facilitate charitable giving, estate planning for the church back to St. Mark. Give us a little bit about your thoughts. I asked Steve Helmick, he had some good thoughts. I asked Carol Pitzer was here with me last week and talked to her, and then Father Tim. But from your perspective, how is that a good thing?
Well, I think it varies. I mean, I think people are at different parts of their life and what they can and cannot do. I think it's like giving to anything else. If it's a vital part of who you are, then you find a way to give. Right. My husband was probably too generous at many times, so I think we're raising a family and we keep giving. However, that giving has paid
Sure.
off, and will continue to give dividends that we can't even begin to imagine in dollars and cents. I mean, it's far beyond that. So I think, we just have to stay firm in our commitment. We have to have many activities. We have to engage people. And then sooner or later we ask, because that's how we become even better at what we do.
Right. And I appreciate, because you were a huge component of the team for the capital campaign. Not only this one, but other ones that we've had that you've helped with. And I know some people aren't comfortable with asking others to give. I'm very comfortable with that. I always have been, because it's for the right reason. If it wasn't for the right reason, it might be a little more difficult. But I appreciate the time that you've stepped up and done that. And it's such a blessing to walk into a new facility like we're going to have behind us, and know that every dollar that was brought in to build this was given by someone here in this church.
It's an investment. It's a good investment. It's what and who we are all about. God's good to us in different ways. And it's that giving back that we need to remember. And I can remember, I think you were still principal, or were principal, when we did the air conditioning.
Absolutely, it's my second year.
And I was a part of that. And I tell you what, I love going out and meeting with people.
Absolutely.
And asking. I had no problem. And the best part was, yes, the response was yes.
And a lot of times it's more than you ask.
Oh, and in no time we had $750,000 for that cause.
Absolutely.
So it's loving people, trying to work with them, walk beside them, that when we begin this campaign, I was excited about it. I still am, and I look forward to that day where we will dedicate and worship.
Maybe the Archbishop might even come and join us. Who knows?
Well, we'll do our best to have him here, for sure.
Well, listen, I know you've got a lot going on, so I don't want to keep any more of your time. I know we have you said the dinner dance coming up, which I believe is the 17th?
Yes, February 17th at Vala Vista. We invite you to attend. It'll be a good time.
Tickets are available?
Tickets are available, $75. We'll be here these next few weekends after all the masses. And then we'll gear up for our 75th anniversary at the parish, which is very exciting for me.
It is.
And I will work on that however I'm needed, and hopefully some history will stay in my mind that I can help them with. I don't know. There are those days when the mind just wants to remember what it wants to remember.
Yeah. It's interesting because my mom was 75 years ago, was a fifth grader here when it first opened.
Wow.
Yeah, she was at St. Catherine's, and then my grandma, Grandpa Borski helped with a lot of the things. He was one of the first scout leaders here. And I tell her all the time, I say, we should bring you back as a poster child for that. She said, oh, I don't want to do that. She laughed. But I appreciate, we don't have a lot of original members still around with us, but it's so nice to hear the stories from parents and grandparents who either went here, their children went here, and it means so much more to them after they leave, like a lot of things we do. And we're just so appreciative to all of our legacy families here. I don't want to start naming them because I'll miss some.
No, we'll miss
but the ones that have really did the sweat equity, that sold the cookies to get the money to show Archbishop I think it was it Schulte at the time? I can't remember.
To begin.
That we want to have a school and a
Yes.
church here.
Yeah.
And I love the pictures that
Yeah.
I found there in one of the books of the nuns up on the crane when they started building stuff like that. Yeah. So
Yeah, there is a lot of history here and good history.
absolutely. And more to come.
More. Oh, we're just beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, this generation that's in the pews today, how exciting it should be for you.
And kudos to this parish, not just the priests, but they're a big part of it, but kudos for them to being able to adapt and to change and to be flexible how time changes. A lot of parishes, a lot of organizations, schools don't do that.
Yeah, well, that goes back to leadership.
Absolutely.
That goes to leadership in the parish, the lay leadership, your pastor. You know, everybody kind of takes an accountability for that.
Absolutely.
You know, you were talking about you here, my children went here. They hated the fact that I was teacher principal
Mine
here.
too.
But they survived. They're wonderful, wonderful grown-ups now,
Right.
adults, but they survived that. But they too now have memories.
Sure.
And I hope they'll be able to come back
Sure.
for whatever we plan for the 75th.
absolutely.
I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming.
My pleasure.
We hope to have you on, more than just obviously once the new build is done and see that. But Mickey Lentz, former principal here, retired Chancellor of the Archdiocese, active parishioner here at St. Mark. We thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And
My
we hope
pleasure.
we hope everybody has a good week, and we will see you next week on the Candles. Peace, everybody.